Hey, everybody. Hello. Welcome to Zeus Angel Mystic Tarot. How are you guys doing? I thought I would pop on because I haven't done a collective in a while. I've been sort of all over the place and yeah, I haven't done a collective reading in a while. And I will be doing free questions still for Valentine's Day, probably during the day. Um, and if you're interested, I've had some people ask me about booking a reading, and I did put my email in my biography. If you go to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe, right? And you look under about me or about the channel or the biography, and you scroll down, and my email is there. So currently, I'm only doing electronic payments for private readings, and I like to do them via video. So if you want to book one, email me. All right. And I'm accepting PayPal, I'm accepting Venmo, and that's how it is right now. So anyways, let's get into it. Okay, I'm doing a collective reading for all the signs. It doesn't matter what your sign is, and if anyone's in the chat, we'll chat later. And if you have seen any of my lives that I've done in 2025, you'll know that we have not entered 2026 yet astrologically. And in fact, and I found this so synchronistic when I came to the library. I'm at the library right now. When I walked in and I went up to the counter to reserve this room, they had a banner with the year of the fire horse. Because that is the Chinese New Year. And the Chinese New Year begins, I believe it begins February 17th. Astrologically, though, 2026 starts in March, in my opinion. So from February 17th onwards to March, that's when we're finally out of the year of the snake and things will start to progress a little more. Okay, so that's when the fire horse starts. That's when that energy picks up and we have more momentum and we're less stagnant, right? Because the year of the snake was about shedding and it was about releasing and it was about change and it was about transition. And we're still doing that until the end of this month, until March. Hey guys, hi guys, hi. So we're still in that snake energy. We're still releasing stuff and it's different for everyone. But yeah, I thought as I'm sitting here right now, I see the banner that they have, the Chinese New Year banner with the year of the fire horse. And it's got me all jazzed up because I am so ready for the fire horse energy. I am so tired of the snake energy. The year of the hermit. I'm tired of being a hermit. Okay. I want to do stuff. I want to go out there. I want to meet people. How are you guys doing? Hi. Hey in the chat. But yes, Valentine's Day, I'm going to be popping on here live, answering your questions with the little tarot. And the thing is, I'm using this deck, okay? I can't show most of the pictures on here because there's nudity and YouTube doesn't like that, and I don't want to offend anyone. But, so if you see that I'm not showing you the cards, that's why. I am going to do a collective today. I don't know how I want to split it up, though. Okay, so we're going to see what's blocking love for the collective. Everybody's going to have, of course, a different story. I mean, even if you're in a relationship, you could still feel some resistance, right? Depending on what's going on in your astrology. And the astrology has shifted. Pisces are getting a break and Aries are now under the rule of Saturn. So, and Aquarius, it's still your season. So good things are happening for the Aquarius crew. And we're going to transition into Pisces season right around the fire horse energy, which is the 17th. So look out for that, okay? All right, let's pull some cards, angels and guides. We're going to see first what's blocking. We're going to ask explicitly what's blocking. And this is just going to be a play it by ear, okay? So let's see here. For the collective, what's blocking love? Or what's preventing them from having the most positive experience? We have the King of Cups. So right off the bat, emotions. Why the King of Cups? It kind of came out sideways. So to me, King of Cups in reverse is several things. The first thing I'm getting with that is not being in control of your emotions, because the King of Cups is someone who is very in control of their emotions. There's someone who is like the therapist of the zodiac, right? They know how to handle their stuff. So, and because it was in reverse, that to me is someone who potentially sort of allows their emotions to overcome them to the point where, and I'm not saying you guys are emotional manipulators. However, it can come off as someone's being emotionally manipulative only because maybe you don't know how to self regulate, okay? Or you're connecting with people who don't know how to self regulate, right? Give me more on what's blocking love. We'll get a few cards here. The 10 of Pentacles. So money can possibly get in the way. I say it all the time on here. Community, I can also see this as your reputation or your community. And in this deck, the 10 of Pentacles is somebody who adores you, puts you on a pedestal. So that, to me, first of all, I see it could be that your community has different ideas of who you should date. Number two, I feel like maybe we're not putting ourselves first, or we're adoring other people, putting other people on a pedestal. There's a lot of different ways I could read that. And then we have the Empress here. So with that, because I'm taking this as the blockage here, right? Like what's blocking us? The Empress, this would be in reverse. So that's one of two things. Okay. The Empress in reverse is someone who doesn't have the best relationship with themselves in regards to self-worth, right? But also potentially connecting with people who don't value us, connecting with people who don't want to take us out on dates or who don't want to have a real relationship with us. And also because in this deck, the Empress is invitation. So if we're getting invitations for things, we're not going out, we're not inviting people out or accepting invitations, things like that. Because we were in the year of the Hermit, like I said before, there's a lot of people who were just in their own energy. Even if you were going out to things, let's say you were very social. Were you still to yourself? Did you deny a lot of invitations? Did you not invite people out? Do you have a good relationship with self? Do you have good self-worth? Do you surround yourself with people who you think want to be there with you long term? So it's all about accountability. You guys probably don't like it when I do that, but I have to bring it back to self, because if I don't, then I'm doing you a disservice by saying it's all the other person. It's all the people around you who don't treat you right and who are, this and that. So the relationship with self, potentially putting people on pedestal, a lack of self-regulation, 9 of Swords reversed. So I could see that in a few different ways. I have to cover up the nudity. But there's a man behind a woman kissing her, and then there's a cat there. So I see that one of two ways. Now, it could potentially be social anxiety. The 9 of Swords is actually cruelty, but I see that in reverse. And since it's what's blocking it, I feel like potentially that we're allowing people to treat us some type of way, right? Or maybe allowing ourselves to allowing our anxieties to overcome us a little bit. And when I say us, I mean the collective, right? That's the collective unconscious. There's something here about also we have cruelty, we have anxiety, but this is also a spiritual awakening and an ending, because the nines, like I was saying before, we're still in year 2025, which breaks down to a 9, and nines are the foundation and the ending. That's why I sometimes see the 9 of Swords as a realization that things need to change. It's a spiritual awakening, because in the Rider Waite, the 9 of Swords is a man who's sitting on his bed and he's like this, he's like stressed out, right? Because it's like, I can't sleep at night because I know that something needs to change. Now, I'm not saying you have anxiety at night, maybe you do. But it's a realization that something needs to change. However, maybe you're not changing it, or maybe you're allowing things to go on longer than they should, right? Like you're potentially allowing people who gossip about you or talk terrible about you to come back into your life. Maybe you don't realize that. So it could also be drowning in sorrows or anxieties. Ooh, it's getting really deep already, you guys. So yeah, allowing anxieties to overcome us. Maybe letting people back in who were cruel to us or who gossiped about us, right? Potentially. And now we have the Four of Cups. And in this deck, the Four of Cups, I can show you this one. There's a scissors on there. And sometimes I see that, as I was saying before, sometimes we just need to cut the cord, and it's hard for us to cut the cord because we're disappointed that things didn't go the way that we wanted it to. So we don't cut the cord the way we're supposed to. Four of Cups. Now, I see that a little bit as missing opportunities because we feel unfulfilled. It's almost like, what's the point of going to that thing? It's never going to happen anyway. It's a mindset. The Four of Cups is the Buddha sitting under the tree saying, is that all there is? They sit there and they're offered something and they say, no, I do not want that. I wanted that. I wanted that. And I wanted that. So you're missing out on opportunities because you're grieving or disappointed that one thing didn't work out the way that you wanted it to. So, for example, let's say you did get rejected. These are examples. This is a general collective, okay? So just keep that in mind. Let's say that you did like someone and potentially maybe they didn't like you back or they rejected you, or, we all go through that. That energy, when you sit in that energy of feeling bad that you didn't get that person, place, or thing, you're missing out on real opportunities that could blossom and bloom into good things. So if it's in a relationship, if you're in a relationship, and the Four of Cups pops out in a relationship, that's kind of, that energy is very, you're like feeling bad for yourself or rejecting things, ignoring things. I can sometimes see that as a little bit of a depression, right? So to counter that, we have gratefulness. And to counter that, we have acceptance, we have gratefulness. Two of Pentacles. So yes, what's blocking love? I sometimes see people be very, very shy and afraid to approach someone that they like. And this fear of rejection, embarrassment here to approach someone, or even if we're in a relationship, there can sometimes be a fear to tell someone how you feel. And that Two of Pentacles is also an uncertainty. Like, I'm uncertain here what I should do. And I'm trying to balance everything. And it's also being stuck into realities, because the Two of Pentacles is, there's more than one timeline. And because it's a two, it's always going to be duality. And the duality can sometimes cause cognitive dissonance. And what do I mean by that? Like, you're conflicted on a mental scale as to what you should do. And that causes that feeling of embarrassment or rejection or uncertainty, not able to choose. And this is also, balancing. It's a balancing act. So some of you guys just could feel like you have too much going on, and it caused you to feel disappointed and unfulfilled here, in a sense that I don't even know if I have time or money or energy to even go to these things or even put energy in my love life. A lot of the times, if you're single or even if you're in a relationship, it could be that you just still don't have the time or the energy because you work. You still don't have the time and energy to prioritize relationships, love, meeting someone, or going out with your significant other, or communicating to them in the way that you want, because there's an energy of feeling drained. Because I can sometimes see the Nine of Swords in reverse as mental exhaustion too, as well, because it's thoughts, and it's like, I can't continue on like this with these thoughts or the way that things are, right? Let's get some advice. Four of Wands in reverse. So, excuse me, my throat is dry. I see the Four of Wands in reverse as I want to go back to when I said not accepting invitations. I can't show you this. I realize I'm showing you this and I shouldn't. The Four of Wands is a celebration, is an invitation. So and it's in reverse. So some of you, I feel as though, aren't having enough fun potentially not going out and having enough fun, but also potentially feeling a little bit unstable. So this sense of feeling unstable in either your home life, your work life, something like that, that is what's being highlighted to me. So for some of you, it's even in your family that there's a sense of a dysfunction. Maybe if you're living with your family, it's dysfunctional, or maybe, just the fact that you were raised in a dysfunctional family, or because there's something about family with the 10 of Cups here. And this is also attachment in this deck. So some of you could feel as though you're unwelcomed in certain spheres. And I don't know, I'm kind of getting a defeatist attitude with this. But if there is some kind of instability in your living situation or in your work situation, that's going to take precedent over love here. And it could even make you feel defeated and maybe emotional. We have the 10 of Pentacles and the 10 of Cups. Actually, that's kind of beautiful. But it's in the blockage. So 10 of Cups in reverse. It's like feeling as though you're not going to get that happily ever after. Potentially, maybe even if you were in a relationship, questioning whether or not you're going to be able to take it to the next level, And then we have a Magician in reverse. So the Magician in reverse is someone who is not in their power, feels as though they're not in their power. And I feel like a lot of you guys who come to YouTube Tarot, maybe you don't realize how powerful you are, how much strength and resourcefulness you have just as a human being on this planet, right? Because this came out in reverse, and that, the Magician in reverse is, I see that as one of two things. One, potentially that you were connecting with people who were overly manipulative, or two, you're feeling as though you're not in your power here. And yeah, the Hierophant, support, lacking support when it comes to relationships and feeling defensive. This comes out actually a lot. And in this deck, the 7 of Wands is actually whispering. So the way that I see that is there is like a lack of intimacy when the collective is in a relationship, that it makes it difficult for, to express how you feel when you feel triggered. And that lack of intimacy can cause a wedge between two people. Like if you're triggered or if you feel hurt and your walls go up and you're super guarded, how do you come back from that? How do you get back to the intimacy after you've been triggered, after your guard is up, so you can get back to like hand holding and kissing and hugging and whispering in the ear and stuff like that, right? The guard goes straight up. And now I don't want to be intimate anymore. And that can block relationships as well. Or if you're single and you're in that energy of I've got my guard up, or I constantly feel like I have to defend myself, or I don't want to get hurt again, right? That comes out a lot in these readings, you guys. But also potentially feeling like there is no support or no commitment. And some of you guys, I feel as though don't have spirituality, or you don't have a wise guru to go to, you don't have a mentor. So there's a lack of support, there's a lack of a mentor, there's a lack of commitment in general too. Even if you're in a relationship, you could still feel as though you don't have a support network, and that maybe it's difficult for you to bring your frustrations to your partner. 3 of Wands, I sometimes see that as waiting. So yes, and I say it all the time on here, is, when we go to these tarot readings and you click on how does my ex feeling, and you're, really holding on to that relationship, waiting super hard for that relationship. Once again, you're going to miss out on opportunities waiting for someone. And we have the Judgment card. So this can also be being overly critical. I know it's really fashionable to get the ick, remember, this is a collective. I'm not saying that you do that. Maybe people you connect to are overly judgmental. There's a sense of over judging situation, harshly critical, or potentially getting the ick. That happens when we're connecting with people who are emotionally unavailable, because they'll find any kind of excuse, they'll be triggered. Like, oh, if this is getting serious, I'm triggered. I have to find something wrong with you. And that can also, that can really cause a misunderstanding, and a good situation can be completely, sort of destroyed because of that, when it comes to the unavailable. And a lot of the times I feel like people, the collective, will say that person was unavailable, the other person was unavailable. But I think sometimes the collective is also emotionally unavailable, and you get the ick, right? We get the ick, like, oh, they messaged me too many times. I got the ick. But potentially somewhat connecting with people who are too judgmental, or us ourselves being too judgmental or too harsh on one another, whether we're single or not. Because what I'm seeing here is feeling uninvited, feeling not in our power, feeling like we don't have support, feeling like we have to be defensive and kind of hard because of potentially that we've been through things. And we have the King of Wands, but in this deck, the King of Wands is embracing. So I feel like we don't hug each other enough. We don't hug enough. We don't hold hands enough. And there's a lack of feeling safe. And the collective potentially doesn't feel safe, doesn't feel like they get hugs enough. Hugs are healing. Oh, I just, what I'm hearing in my head right now, that song by Liz Phair, Letters and Sodas. Basically, that song, Letters and Sodas, she really just talks about, teenage love or early love, or what it was like back in the day when it was so simple, when we could just go get a soda and we could hold hands and we can write love letters. And where did all that romance go? Where did that puppy love go? And when you get older, love becomes different. It becomes, here we go, we have the devil here. It becomes about lust. It becomes about bills. It becomes about stability. It becomes more transactional, because we're living in the real world. When we're an adult, we have a lot of responsibilities. And so it's less about romance when you're an adult. It's less about letters and sodas and hand holdings and love letters. It's more about, I need somebody who's going to protect me. I need someone who's going to provide for me. I have needs I need to be met. And it becomes, tainted a little bit with lust, because we have the devil here. And a lot of the times, the collective, we have a difficult time when it comes to discerning whether or not a relationship is a trauma bond, it's a true connection, it's us having our shadow self being triggered, or is it lust, is it genuine connection? So, especially because we have the devil there, lust definitely gets in the way a lot of the times. Trauma bonds get in the way. Our dark night of the soul gets in the way. But the devil actually gets a bad rap because it can be empowering, because it's the number 6, which is the same number as the lovers, right? Because the devil actually can come between the lovers. Lust can really bond people together. Attraction can bond people together. And so we have to be really real with ourselves about whether or not we have support. We can come to them with our problems. Are we being too judgmental? Are we being too critical? Do we hug each other? Do we hold each other's hands? Do we really care about each other? Is it transactional? Is it lust? Is it a trauma bond? And that's it. You know what? This isn't cute. This isn't lovey-dovey. This is real life. So I see there's not a lot of you guys out there, and maybe I'm boring you, but that's because I'm being real, you guys. We have the Tower here. So when I see the Tower and a love relationship, it's about shattering illusions, right? The Tower will shatter an illusion. And sometimes when the Tower falls, that's divine intervention. And what's left is the realization that you could have built a relationship on something that wasn't meant to be in your life, right? That's like when you discover that someone was just using you for your body, for what they can get from you, or they're stringing you along, or they had that's that realization. oh, wait a minute, even if they didn't do all those gross things, maybe it's just that we aren't really aligned. We don't have anything in common. We hold each other back. We're super codependent. Those are all the low vibe things that keep people together. And when the tower comes in, it's like, you can't ignore the truth that maybe this wasn't good for me. Maybe this wasn't healthy for me. It was my shadow self. And I'm not one of those readers who will come on here and just badmouth the other person. It's all their fault, because we have a accountability in the people that we attract. And and honestly, it's a poor reflection on you, because, and I've done it, we all do it, like to our ex, they were bad, and maybe they did some bad things. But what did you do to attract that? Why did you keep that around? Was there some sort of limerence? Was there some sort of deniability? Was that really, maybe that person has more in common with you? Because we are who we attract. We are who we attract. And like for me, I've had some predators, so I have to be real with myself. What did I do to attract a predator? Because it's not all just them preying on you. I was preyed on, yes, but I had weak boundaries. I was in denial. You know what I mean? This is the example of what I'm telling you, the tower moment that comes in when we realize I was involved in a trauma bond. I was involved in something toxic. There was a lot of negativity back and forth, and I had to put up that mirror to myself and say, what is it that I'm not looking at that I now need to sit with so that I don't end up in another one of those? Relationships are really hard. They're probably one of the hardest things you'll have to do. School, work, a lot easier than a romantic relationship. And if you're not right with yourself, if you're not right with the divine, if you're not healthy, you'll end up with this devil energy. That's just how it is. And the devil can be good. A lust and attraction aren't always bad. Obviously not. Magnetism is amazing. But we can't build a foundation based on lust and chemistry alone. That's a trauma bond. So yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that the devil and the lovers have a connection. And a lot of depictions of the lovers, the devil is between them, because that's what's holding it together, is that chemistry, is that attraction. So is it chemistry? Is it connection? Is it authentic? And I say it all the time in these readings. These two cards comes out a lot, the 7 of Wands and the 9 of Wands. And that's building a moat around our heart. It's not letting anyone in. It's not being open and available to real intimacy. When you're not open and available to real intimacy, you are going to attract trauma bonds. You're going to attract people who are unavailable. Hi. It's just the reality. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. But when we go, let's say, for example, you did go to a therapist and you are explaining about your past relationships, and they're always the problem. It's always the other person. They're always the problem. It's always the other person. They're always the problem. Well, what is your part in these relationships? Because you're there too. It takes two to tango. So let's examine that. Because once you sit down and you look in that mirror and you expose the parts of yourself that are leaking energy or are, low vibe, or your dark night, there's no shame in that. We all have dark and light. And a lot of the times, we're really just not open to love. We say we want it, but when it comes in, we get the ick. We're overly judgmental, or maybe we get too attached and we scare them away, or we build a moat around our heart, or we attach ourselves to people who aren't really available to us because we're unavailable. So, and that's what I see with the 7 of Wands and the 9 of Wands: guardedness, defensiveness, hardness, being easily triggered because we're wounded, because we've been there. And the 9 of Wands is the wounded warrior, right? And this is a 9 again. We have 2 9s here, the 9 of Swords and the 9 of Wands. And this is hopefully what we're shedding, because this is 9 energy. 2025 was the year number 9. We'll be moving into 2026 energy, February 17th to March. So hopefully I'll see more 1s and 10s, but this is release and hopefully healing the heart chakra. to be available to real love, to take accountability in what we do that gets us into these sticky situations, right? These trauma bonds, these unhealthy relationships, these unavailable, whatever the situation is, or even if it's a healthy relationship, you know, what are the obstacles in that? I've never had one. I'm not going to lie. I don't know what it looks like. I don't think that's easy either, because there's a certain amount of communication, accountability. I'm going to keep saying that word. And there's always going to be obstacles. So the more open and available we are, the healthier connection we will pull in for ourselves, to not be this wounded warrior, to not carry echoes of the past person with us into every relationship, you know, the baggage, the trauma. And we all have that. And we all do that. So that's where like the little therapist hack comes in, you know, going to see a therapist or whatever, and being able to recognize when you're being triggered, when your trauma has been triggered, and when there is really something concerning that needs to be broken down. Can you resolve issues in a relationship like a team? Or are you just going to shut down? You know, and that's both people. 9 of Wands, the wounded warrior. Hopefully you can overcome being the wounded warrior and, you know, be more in the King of Cups in the upright, because the King of Cups came out sideways. So if we have to be who we want to attract, if we want someone who is emotionally mature, we have to be that 100%. 5 of Swords in reverse. And in this deck, this is shaking things up. And sometimes we are attracted to chaos because we only know chaos. And sometimes we are in relationships like it's a battlefield because that's all we know, right? Love is a battlefield. 5 of Swords in this deck, I see as love is a battlefield. I like a little bit of drama. I like a little bit of arguing. Like, okay, then you're creating it yourself. You're putting yourself in a trauma bond when you do that. But this came out in reverse, and I see that as putting the swords down, you know, maybe realizing where you have been playing mind games or going into warrior mode, or feeling like you have to, you know, like love is a battlefield and you have to go in guns blazing, you know, with your guard up and like on the defense, and like I have to play it strategically, you know, and I need to win at all cost every argument. Putting down the swords, realizing that we're a team when you're in a relationship, but you have to kind of mentally prepare yourself to be that way. Even if you're single, you still have to mentally prepare yourself to not be triggered, not to see love as a battlefield, not to see it as a game, not to see it as I have to be strategic. And that's the mental preparedness, clearing away all the clutter, and opening the heart chakra. And what does that mean? That means being more gentle with yourself. That means being on the vibration of love and not having that hardness or that bitterness or that, you know, because a lot of the times we'll come on here and we'll be like, we won't be honest. We'll be like, I want love, I really want it, but then we're rejecting every opportunity for it to come in. 3 of Swords. So the 3 of Swords, sometimes people end relationships without even discussing the red flags. That's the ghosters, you know. That's what the 3 of Swords means in this deck. Is sometimes we end a relationship or we ghost someone because we see a red flag, and instead of calling it out or working through it, you just ghost someone or you just reject them. And it's like, that could have easily been overcome. Have you just communicated with me? What's going on in here? Oh, thanks. I appreciate you. So yes, 3 of Swords in this deck is accepting, looking at the red flags, not ignoring them, and talking about the red flags, resolving the red flags instead of just ending the relationship or ghosting someone or something like that. But I could also see the 3 of Swords as being too hurt to be open to love, saying that we want a relationship, but then we're still really super hurting about the past person. Oh, this is so funny. Sorry, dude. Okay, we have a hater in there. Okay, so Three of Swords, one of two things. Ending things before we talk about the red flags. And I'm not saying you specifically, this is a general reading. So three of Swords, ending things before we can talk about the red flags, like seeing the red flags and ghosting someone, or still being hurt from the past person, or not even getting into a relationship because we're so worried that we're going to be hurt. Sometimes we say we want a relationship and we date or whatever, but we end up keeping ourselves single because we're super afraid to get hurt. You know, have you ever heard of that person who breaks up with someone because they thought they were going to leave them? That's what I see sometimes. You'd be surprised, you know, people sabotage themselves in relationships. So, and I'm not saying that you do that. That's just what's coming up here. The Three of Swords. So learning to be able to, and this is 100% relevant when I say healing the heart chakra. The Three of Swords, that's what we need to heal for the heart chakra. The past pain, the past betrayal, the past rejection, and not walking away when we see red flags. Boredom. This is a really good topic. This means boredom in this deck. The Six of Pentacles means boredom. So having a healthy reciprocal relationship can feel really, really boring. And that sometimes people will sabotage a good relationship because they're bored. But also, the Six of Pentacles is giving. It's equal give and take. So that's really important to have. And then we have the Death card. The Death card in this deck means accepting and ending with grace. Hi. Accepting and ending with grace. And I see a lot, you guys, people come to tarot because they can't accept that something's over, or they want to know what the other person's doing, or they want to reconcile. And sometimes we just have to let things end. And that's how we're blocking love, because and I see that as blocking the heart chakra too. So letting things end with grace. I've had a hard time with that. I'm not good at accepting endings. I will hold on to a relationship past its prime. I've done that before. We all have. Knight of Wands. So I love the Knight of Wands, but sometimes the Knight of Wands is someone who doesn't stick around in relationships. They come and they go. And sometimes we do too much. Like we have too much going on and we don't prioritize it, or we really just want to be carefree. We're not taking it very serious. And maybe you're connecting with people that way. And that's a bit of a self-sabotaging energy to connect with someone who is free-spirited and doesn't want to settle down. Okay, you guys, I see no one in the chat and it looks like there's no one watching. So I'm going to end the live because I feel really tired. But I'm going to come back. I'm going to do free questions, and hopefully that will be something that you guys are engaged with. Hopefully you will be engaged with that. And that's on Saturday. I'm going to do it during the day, probably on Valentine's Day during the day. If you guys aren't on a date or with a Valentine's, feel free to pop in and I will be answering free tarot questions that day. So yay. So on a positive note, we have the Two of Cups. I think a lot of the collective, starting in the Fire Horse energy, February 17th to March, are going to be connecting with new people. They're going to be connecting. You know, we have the Two of Cups here, and that in the blockage is failing to be considerate of other people's feelings, but also not being friends with the people that we want to date. So expanding our friend circle, starting out as friends, and really being considerate of the other person's feelings. And then we have the Knight of Cups reversed. So the Knight of Cups reversed is someone who is a little bit of a, I want to say like a charmer. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of the times collective allows themselves to be charmed by someone, and take your time to be friends first to see if somebody's really charming you or if they're the real deal. Okay, I'm going to get out of here because I'm tired. But like, subscribe, comment, share, hit the notification bell. And if you're interested in getting a free question answered by me, I will be back on Valentine's Day. I'll see y'all later. Bye.